What is up, everyone? FX Killer here, bringing you another Conan Exiles video. I've gotten a lot of requests to do a new video on the changes in the stats in the Conan Exiles Frozen North expansion. And hopefully you've already seen my previous video, but I'm going to show you what has changed, what hasn't, and I'm going to show you both of those in detail. Let's get the easy stuff out of the way. What hasn't changed? Well, Vitality is still going to result in the 12 points of HP per point in Vitality that you've received pre-expansion. That hasn't changed at all, although I have noticed that if you level that stat too quickly, you can get a couple 11s and random other numbers in there. Sometimes it's inconsistent. Also, Agility hasn't changed at all. You still get 1 armor per agility, and from what I've seen, it doesn't really matter how much agility you have. You're still going to have the same dodges or rolls that you would have in light, medium, or heavy armor. And lastly, encumbrance hasn't changed at all. You're still going to get the 7 points of encumbrance per point that you would have gotten in the previous iteration of the game. Now that we've got the easy stuff out of the way, let's take a dive into the big changes in stats in the Conan Exiles expansion. As we did previously, we're going to start with strength and accuracy because that's probably the one thing most people are most interested in. Before the expansion, it was pretty well agreed on that strength gave you somewhere between 0.8 and 1% weapon damage per point in strength. But that has changed, and I have extensive proof of it. In this clip here, you can see the testing done. We took 4 different weapons: Ancient Khopesh, Hardened Steel Pike, Flawless Star Metal Hammer, and of course the Black Ice Broadsword. And we tested them at 0 strength, 20 strength, 40 strength, and 60 strength. Right here is the raw data results. In the expected data column, we used the base weapon damage and used the percentage of increase by the strength to find what we expected it to be, and then in the actual damage column, that's what we actually tested. After averaging together the average percentage of increase, I found that the average of all 4 is 1.483%. And you can see that these numbers match up very consistently. So I'm very confident about this 1.483% number. Therefore, it is my conclusion that each point of strength you invest in your character is going to result in a 1.48% increase in damage. That means that for every 10 points in strength, you'll do about 15% more damage. So people who are running those 30 strength builds are doing about 45% more damage than you. And people running some crazy number like 50 or 60 strength are doing crazy 75% to 90% more damage. Accuracy turns out to be the same percentage, as they haven't really varied it much and thankfully kept it consistent. We're going to look at grit next. Now, grit hasn't changed in the colloquial sense, in that it still gives you the same 3 points of stamina per grit. However, the expansion itself has made dodge rolling, sprinting, and shields much more important, with dodge rolls costing anything between 25 and 30 stamina, and sprinting and shielding obviously just requiring stamina. One could make the argument that stamina is as useful as health now because, well, it keeps you alive. Therefore, it is my recommendation that you weight grit pretty highly on your build. I only say this because, again, it is very valuable to not die, and you need stamina sometimes to stay in a fight. Last but not least, we're going to look at survival. It has been the conclusion of almost everyone that survival was next to useless. However, in the expansion, you now have to contend with the hot and the cold, and anyone who has spent time in the cold will tell you that you have to eat constantly, and anyone who spent time in the heat will tell you you need to drink constantly. Here, you can see a test that I did using 0, 5, 10, and 20 survival in the freezing level 3 temperatures. I've time coded them here so you can see just how long it takes for each survival level to reach 90% of hunger. There's really not much difference. Survival doesn't seem to have too big of an impact, just as it did before. I'd still recommend maybe putting up to 5 points in it, because those first 5 points only cost 1 each, but it doesn't seem to be worth putting too many more in, because the effect on prolonging your hunger or thirst really is not that effective. Some interesting things that must be noted is that, first off, agility seems to be bugged. You don't actually get 1 armor from the first point. You have to put an extra point in to get that. So putting in 5 points, for instance, now only gets you 4 points of armor. Also, when I tested the effect of survival, I did it with my character not moving, to really show a consistency, because it would be very difficult to test with the same amount of jumps and same amount of swings and whatnot. So take that with a grain of salt. In conclusion, there hasn't been too much changed. Obviously, you're going to see bigger returns on your strength and accuracy now because there's a higher percentage, and you're also going to see higher effective health with more grit invested, because of course you get more dodge rolls, shields, jumps, and sprints out of that. This is the final build I've been playing with. It has plenty of strength, plenty of vitality, maybe a little bit low on the encumbrance, and then some of the extra points were just thrown in for a few points of extra armor and a tiny bit more survivability. I definitely encourage you guys to submit your own favorite builds, post them up on the page, let people know what works for you and what doesn't. I hope this video has been a help to some of you, and if not, I hope that you've learned something new today. As always, be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more videos, and we'll see you guys soon.